Okay. Should be good, hopefully, maybe. Been a while since I've done it, but I mean, it's just pressing 2 buttons. Surely I can't mess up pressing 2 buttons. And I think I haven't messed up in pressing the 2 buttons, so I'm gonna go... I think I need to go new game. Yeah, yeah, chapter 0, and then test chamber. Huh. There's the chapters, but they started it. I guess it makes sense. But anyway, new game. And I also need to get my little thing that I made. Is it this one? It is, okay. I know the chambers. I'm gonna leave this to just be hush. Yeah, I have the chambers, how many radios, how many cameras in each. And yes, I mean there's at least one radio in each chamber. Cameras.
Hello, and again, welcome to the Aperture Science Computer Aided Enrichment Center. We hope your brief detention in the relaxation vault has been a pleasant one. Your specimen has been processed, and we are now ready to begin the test proper. Before we start, however, keep in mind that although fun and learning are the primary goals of all Enrichment Center activities, serious injuries may occur. For your own safety and the safety of others, please refrain from... Turn back. The portal will open in 3, 2, 1.
Your timing was a bit off. Look at me go. Okay, now I know that I do need to take this with me. Why game lag? Please stop. Yeah, I'm taking this with me. This is mine. And I just noticed there's cameras here. These ones you can't take down. You have to put like... I tell me the game's crashed. Of course the game crashed. When wouldn't I have a problem? Let's try this again. But yeah, I've been having some problems since I got back with my computer running a bit slower. I don't know why. Probably a reason. I'm going to assume that I brought it with me. Hopefully it also doesn't take too long to load up, because that would be very annoying. I don't want to deal with it. But yeah, because I'm looking through my thing that I made, and it doesn't say there's any cameras on or in the first chamber. And I made sure to also count when I did when I was making it, and I do have the right amount of cameras written down, so I at least know that there's no cameras in the first room. So those ones are purely just there to be there, because the first camera appears in chamber 2, where there's actually 3 cameras. Yeah, the cameras are weird. There's either none or there's like a lot, because chamber 2, 3, and 2, 3, 4, and 5 have 3, 3, 2, and 3. That itself is like 12 cameras. There's a lot of cameras. Yeah, with the radios, I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, there's about 31, I think. Because there's 19 chambers. And there's a minimum of 1 in each. And then in the later chambers, you have like... The last 2 chambers, you have 3 and 4 cameras. Which in itself would be 19, 23, 25. And there's others where there's like 2. No, maybe there's not 31. Maybe there's 25, 26, like 26 cameras. I mean, not cameras, radios. I can't remember. Either way, I counted. It was the right amount. There's a lot of cameras. Now time for me to quickly check something. All good. Hopefully this time we don't have problems. And if we do have problems, well, I don't know. I haven't thought that far. Now this is going to take. Question is, what do I do? Wait for a thing to load. Question. That I also don't have an answer to. I mean, I got a carrot while I was away, which is pretty cool. I think, what else did I do? I don't know. It's just been a while. I mean, it hasn't been that long, but I guess it has. I feel like it hasn't been a while. Because it's been 4, 6, no. I only think 7, 8, 9, 10, like 12 or 13 days. Which I guess plus the extra day when I go back, like 13 or 14 days. Which I mean, streaming wise is a while. But in the grand scheme of things, it's also not a while. Why have problems? This has set me back so far. But hopefully, when I get back from, or sometime in February, I should be getting a new PC. So I hopefully shouldn't have any problems with crashing. Well, I'd assume that I wouldn't. Now please, to load. And I won't have any problems with things running as well. Which is why I'm doing Portal now. And other games after. Because I'd assumed I'd be able to run Portal. I have before. I've actually done a series on Portal. It's been like 2 or 3 years since I've played Portal. Either way, a lot of years. Yeah, I have about like 2 weeks. This Portal crashed again. Why? What is going on? I am so confused. Did I just give up on Portal? I would have thought by having the game already open and running, I wouldn't have to go through any of these problems. But apparently I do. And this time it worked absolutely fine. Okay, I'll take it. Actually, let me go to options real quick. Options. Video. Let's go to 1280 by 720. See if that helps a little bit. Brightness levels. Not unlocked. Let's go to advanced. Go to medium. Medium. Don't need many things. Color correction. Medium. Simple reflections. Hopefully that will fix. Changing the resolution. It didn't like me changing the resolution. Okay. Okay, there we go. Autosave Friday, January the 20th. Yes, that is today. That is today's date, indeed. I mainly just wanted to load the game so I wouldn't have to sit through GLaDOS talking again. And I'm going to be honest, only reason I loaded the game instead of just starting a new game again. Start a new game. Doesn't seem to have liked me loading game. Maybe? Are we good? Oh, it's letting me choose again? Huh? Okay, it won't open that file, so I guess I'll just start a new game. At least we get some good, like, elevated-esque music. And it's only a minute. It's not that long. I'll just sit here and jam with the elevator music. Because who doesn't like the elevator? Actually, you know what? No. I'm gonna move my cord out of the way. I'm gonna put some stuff in the toilet. You? Toilet.
And again, welcome to the Aperture Science
Actually, I need some water.
Enrichment Center. We hope your brief detention in the relaxation vault has been a pleasant one. Your specimen
Gladys.
has been processed, and we are now ready to begin the test proper. Before we start, however, keep
What
in
does it say?
mind that although fun and learning are the primary goals of all Enrichment Center activities, serious injuries may occur.
I can't
For
read.
your own safety and the safety of others.
Gladys.
Refrain from
Gladys, shush. I said shush, not break.
The portal will open in 3, 2, 1.
Gladys, I have a problem. I can't read. I think this is a problem we need to talk about. Also, I broke my cup in the toilet. Do you guys give out... Can I close? No, can't close. Okay, well, I'll be on my way, and GLaDOS, just letting you know, I would like a complimentary cup if you guys do give them out, because I have lost my cup. But yeah, I'll be on my way now. No one's up there watching me. Okay. Yeah, there we go. That's all you gotta do. Yeah, speedrunners, they somehow like do that, and then they they do like that. Speedrunners, they somehow do like that, and they throw it back to here from here, and I don't know how they do that.
Please proceed into the chamber lock after completing each test.
I did
First,
it.
However, note the incandescent particle field across the exit. This Aperture Science material emancipation grill will vaporize any unauthorized equipment that passes through it. For instance, the Aperture Science weighted storage.
We're gonna say storage cube. Sorry if I cut you off by walking through here, guys. Didn't mean to. Honestly, my mistake. Now, I was gonna say something. I can't remember what I was gonna say. It was gonna be words of some sort. But, yeah, forgotten.
Please place the weighted storage cube on the 1500
wrong thing.
megawatt Aperture Science heavy duty super colliding super button.
Button? Huh? What? Also, let me get my pencil and tick off chamber 1. Let me walk through here. Yeah, there's apparently one in here as well. A radio. Was it back up there? Oh, it's on top of the thingy there. Okay. There we go, got him. Okay, where do you need to go? Okay, well, it's not in there. Okay, at least I got... Okay, get off of my head. Okay, don't need to go in there. Okay, there we go.
Perfect. Please move quickly to the chamber lock as the
Okay,
effects of prolonged
do you need to come
exposure
through
to the
here?
button are not
Okay,
part of
did
this
it.
test.
It's good. Music stopped, and it's gone green. That means it's... I was wondering if that would happen, and it did. Why don't you let the radios out, Gladys? I hope I haven't messed up by doing that. I mean, you only need to turn them on. Now, that was thingy chamber 1. So, tick. We're going at a good pace so far. Let's go listen out for the
You're
music.
doing very well.
Thank you!
Please be advised that a noticeable taste of blood is not part of any test protocol, but is an unintended side effect of the Aperture Science Material Emancipation Grip, which may, in semi-rare cases, emancipate dental fillings, crowns, tooth enamel.
So what you're saying is I may lose my teeth. Now, how am I getting my thing? Wait, where at? I don't know.
Very good. You are now in possession of the Aperture Science handheld portal device. With it, you can create your own portals. These interdimensional gates have proven to be completely safe. The device, however, has not. Do not touch the operational end of the device. Do not look directly at the operational end of the device. Do not submerge the device in liquid, even partially. Most importantly, under no circumstances should...
Wait, what chamber are we in again? Chamber 2. Oh yeah, there's 3 cameras in here I need to take down. God, I almost missed them. How could I do that? That'd be devastating. I'd have to start again.
To ensure the safe performance of all authorized activities, do not destroy vital testing apparatus.
Sorry, I'm gonna destroy what I want. Is one through here? Or back through here? No. Where's this last camera, Gladys? Where have you hidden the last camera? Let me see. Do I need to take this to the entrance? No. Where has this got to go? Maybe down here? Yeah. That doesn't sound good. That doesn't sound good at all. Have I gotten them all? I swear it says that there's 3 in here. I want to quickly move back here just so I don't have to listen to that beeping. Let me do some research. Portal. How many cameras in chamber 2? Guys, thing is, I've searched up how many there are in each room. I haven't actually done any research about where they are. Portal slash camera shy. Camera 1. Camera 2. Camera 3, right above the entrance or the exit. It says it's above... It's above a door. I don't think it's over there. Oh, right there. I'm dumb.
For your own safety, do not destroy vital testing apparatus.
Okay, we're all good, Gladys. Don't mind me. I was just having a look around and accidentally perhaps stumbled upon a camera. That is all. It's not like I am purposefully trying to take down all your cameras. Would never do that. But why do you need your cameras anyway, Gladys? You can see me without them. Because there's rooms without cameras and you know what's going on. So it's not like you need cameras.
Please proceed.
I can still hear that thingy.
Mind the gap.
There is quite a big gap.
Certain objects may be vital to your success. Do not destroy testing apparatus.
I am all fine.
Vital testing apparatus.
Okay,
destroyed.
there's the 3. Now I need to find the radio, which was actually right over there. That is quite handy for me.
Well done. Remember, the Aperture Science Bring Your Daughter to Work Day is the perfect time to have her tested.
Okay, where am I taking this? Where are we going, Gladys? Ooh. Big second. I just want to go over this way. Give me a second. Okay, not back this way. Okay. Huh. Where do I need to take you? Up. It's got to be the only answer. There we go. Just had to get it up high enough. Okay. There we go. It's done. It's still playing music, but it's green, which means it's all good. Okay, so that means I can tick off the next chamber. That's 3 chambers down. I'm going actually faster than I thought I would. Then again, these are the easy ones where you don't actually need to do much thinking. So all I really need, the only hard part of these chambers is trying to find the things. It's definitely gonna get a lot harder. And I also have to 100% Portal 2. But I need to find someone who I can play Portal with. And that would also want to 100% Portal. Also, I need to quickly set this back to stream so I can keep up to date with some stuff. There we go. Okay, all good. Okay, now this room has 2 cameras.
Welcome to test chamber 4. You're doing quite well.
Thank you. I'll take that as a good compliment.
Vital testing apparatus destroyed.
Whatever you say. Whatever you say. I need this. Here. Nope. Back this way. Not that way. Oops. Where would you like to go? Okay, I'm gonna leave it there for now. You might want to go through the door a little bit. So, let me place this here. And we'll go through with the cube. Place down the cube.
Once again, excellent work. As part of our required test protocol, we will not monitor the next test chamber. You will be entirely on your own.
Where do you want to go to, radio? Tell me. Is it up there? It's not up there. It's nowhere down here, because this is where it was originally. Ooh. Right there. There we go. Done. See, it's that easy. There's chamber 4. Done. I was saying I'd be happy if I just got even like 8 done in the first stream. Because thing is, I know the things I'm gonna find hard are the challenge chambers and the advanced levels and the challenge levels. I think out of those 2, the challenge ones are probably going to take me the longest because they have 3 challenges for each sort of level.
Vital testing
There we go.
apparatus
How
destroyed.
many in here? 3. Okay. Well, 1 is done. There's
Vital
2.
testing apparatus destroyed.
And I haven't seen number 3 yet. I'm sure I'll find number 3. I need to quickly come over here, do this, go over that side, come back through, grab that. Plonk it there. And, I gotta do the same thing down there, I guess. Come through here, do that. I can place down there. Nothing hidden down here at the moment. Ooh, radio!
As part of a required test protocol, our previous statement suggesting that we would not monitor this chamber was an outright fabrication. Good job. As part of a required test protocol, we will stop enhancing the truth in 3, 2...
Gladys? Are you okay?
Vital testing apparatus destroyed.
Problem. Big old problem. Where does this go? I think I need to load game. Test chamber 4. Load. Because I'm up to 5.
Vital testing apparatus
1,
destroyed.
2. Now, same as before. Go up here, go down, down there. Grab this. Boom. Over there. Grab this. Boom. And boom. Now, can I reach it before going through the doors? Actually, what if I just... There we go. Now that we've gotten it out here. Okay, where do you go? Where do you... Did it. Okay, now I can continue on. I'm happy. I did everything, Gladys.
As part of a required test protocol, our previous statement suggesting that we would not monitor this chamber was an outright fabrication.
I'm just too good.
Job.
I'm too good, Gladys. I'm too good. I finished before you finished talking. Suck it!
In 3, 2...
Alright, I can tick off chamber number 5. Done. I feel like I'm going through quite fast. Because, man, there's only 19 chambers. I'm already up to 5. But like I have said, this is the shorter sort of part of it. The first, I already see it.
While safety is one of many enrichment center goals, the Aperture
Where's
Science
the portal?
high energy pellets
Right
seen
here.
to the left of the chamber can and has caused permanent disabilities such as vaporization. Please be careful.
Does that make it easier? Not yet. Oh, let me quickly do that first. There you go. Congratulations.
Subject name here.
Must be the Prida.
Subject hometown here.
Actually, I think I know what I gotta do. Damn it, surely there's gotta be a better... Can I crouch? I can. Maybe that will help. Damn it. Come on, just let me grab it. There we go. Got it down. God, that took a while. Now, where do I actually need to take the thing? Over here? Okay, I just need to take it to the end here. Okay, well that was easy. So this one had only one radio and no cameras, so tick that. On to the next level! And how big is Aperture? Because, like, I know it's big, but, like, how big is my question. I guess it also moves around. So I guess that's how they sometimes make some of these rooms, is they just move stuff around.
Wired on all mobile equipment. However, alarms and flashing hazard lights have been found to agitate the high energy pellet and have therefore been disabled for your safety.
So that thing's been disabled for my thing, or I'm not 100% sure, but...
Good. Now use the Aperture Science unstationary scaffold to reach the chamber lock.
Now, you know, I could do that. Or... I could try and find the radio. I hear it. I'm not 100% sure where. I am sort of sure where. I knew I heard it somewhere. Okay, so it doesn't need to go over to here. Well, there is one quick thing I do need to do, which is one of the achievements. Really easy. Pretty sure I just need to do... Oops, wrong thing. Wait. I can't do it in this room. Okay. Well, then I guess I'll just go over to there. And get on this. It is waiting there for me. There we go, done. Next bloom. Yeah, it's basically, you know, where you know, the usual thing where you put the one portal above you, one below you, and then you just fall. Just as long as it takes till I get the achievement. And then there's also one where you have to jump a certain amount, which is usually you can do that when just playing through the game, but apparently I didn't. But I'll figure out how to do it. You just got to get enough length on a jump.
Please note that we have
Yeah,
added
this
a
one.
consequence for failure.
No cameras.
Any contact with the chamber floor will result in an unsatisfactory mark on your official testing record, followed by death. Good luck.
I can see why you would die if you go in there. It looks like there was an oil spill in sewage. So I can see why you wouldn't want to fall in there, or why it would be death if you fall in there. Yeah, I think I'm gonna be happy just to not fall in there. I think that's what I'll go for. I do need to find the radio though. There it is. Okay. Let me come over to here. Put that there real quick. Let's go back over to there and see if it's back this way. It was. There we go. Done. I think it's just happy to get off the platform because this thing was dangling above the sewage. I feel like even just dangling above the sewage is dangerous enough. You know? You'd probably get the smell of it. So, I think that's why the thing wanted to get back to the start. Okay, there we go. This is my platform. Here's where I gotta be. And I can also tick off... We're already up to chamber 8? I was hoping to get to the end of chamber 8 by this episode.
Please note that
Oh,
any
sorry,
appearance
stream.
of danger is merely a device to enhance your testing experience.
Noted. Oh my god. Well, I'm gonna say I'm halfway. I'm not quite halfway. I'd say, well, it's an uneven number, but I'd say about 10 is halfway. Now, this one, we also just have a radio.
Inform you that this next test is impossible. Make no attempt to solve it.
Where? Up there. Okay. So, simple. That. And now we just... I was looking the wrong way.
The Enrichment Center apologizes for this clearly broken test chamber.
Damn it, this is gonna be annoying. Can I reach from down here? I don't think so. Okay,
Once
can I put this
again,
up here?
The
And then just...
Enrichment Center offers its most sincere apologies on the occasion of this unsolvable test environment.
Oh, come back over here.
Frankly, this chamber was a mistake. If we were you, we would quit now.
Damn it. Just knock the damn radio out. Okay, no.
No one will blame you for giving up.
Whew.
In fact, quitting at this point is a perfectly reasonable response.
No, I'm not giving up. Okay, so it does want me to be on the other side, I think. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to bring two things through. That.
Quit now.
I thought I broke it.
Will be served immediately.
I'm good, Gladys. I just wanted to quickly grab something. Okay, now grab this. Throw it through. Oh, is it done? Oh, it's done.
Fantastic. You remain resolute and
No.
resourceful in an atmosphere
Now it's done.
of extreme pessimism.
Okay, tick off number 9. And now the next one does have a camera. I'm gonna have to look out for the camera. Yeah, things are going pretty well. Better than I expected. But then again, when I was looking back, to beat the game, it did only take me, well, the first time, it did only take me like 2 and something hours, like 2.5, 3 hours. So, I mean, that's not that bad. Because I think I was thinking of number 2, because number 2 is very long. Because, I mean, you have the base game, which I don't actually know.
Hello again. To reiterate, previous one.
Now, I think I have seen a playthrough of this one, I think.
Orbital momentum. Vital testing apparatus destroyed.
All I heard was momentum. I'm pretty sure the thing's up there. I'm pretty sure I just saw it. I just don't know how I'm getting over there. If I place it there... Is it not there? I guess the radio's not there. Oh, could the radio maybe be in here? Radio. Oh, maybe it was up there. Let me check. I guess I can't really check, can I? I don't hear anything.
Spectacular. You appear to understand how a portal affects forward momentum, or to be more precise, how it does not.
But... Okay, there's another room. Okay, it's in here. Oh, it's right there. Can I just... Okay, give me a quick second. I just need to quickly, Okay. I was more trying to do that so I could try and grab it. My god. Do I not get enough thing doing it that way? Did I knock it off? Yes, I did. Ah! Okay, it's done. I got it. I'm happy. That's all I really wanted to do. So now, throw that one up there because I got the thing at the very start, didn't I? Yeah, I got the camera at the very start. So now all I got to do is, pew! As I was saying, that was some real speed. Wait, no, I can't do the thing where you fall through infinitely. Yeah, there we go. So I think I can tick that one off. Now, I will give this one a question mark, because I'm not sure if I got the thingy. Just in case I do miss one, I'll mark the ones where I can't 100% remember. I'm pretty sure I got the thing at the very start. Yeah, because she said blah 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 momentum, and I was too fixated on trying to destroy the camera there.
The Enrichment Center promises to always provide a safe
Oh,
testing
this is right at the other one, isn't it?
environment.
Yes.
In
it is.
dangerous testing environments, the Enrichment Center promises to always provide useful advice. For instance, the floor here will kill you. Try to avoid it.
Yeah, this one isn't the sewage water. Yeah, there's the camera for this one done. There's no more cameras in this room. Now this button opens that for a certain amount of time. Okay. Now I hear it. Yeah, it's over there. Okay. Point this way. Thank you. Wait, where is it? Oh, it was like that way. Oh. I had a heart attack. I thought it was coming towards me. What if it hits me? I don't think I want to find out. Okay. I'm guessing I want to take it to the middle with me. That's my assumption, at least. Oh, I wasn't sure. It was just that thing up there exploding. So yeah, let me just doink. Up, wrong way. Just give it a second. No, it's gonna explode, please. Okay, I'm just gonna move it real quick. So if it explodes, you know what? I'll leave it. It timed out. Didn't time correctly. Wait, no, it is facing the right way this time. God damn you. Okay, god damn you. Okay. Over to there. Yeah. Now we do this one. There we go. Which lowers that platform. Allows you to come through here. Okay. This is our... It's almost us. Whether the timing's gonna be right, I don't know. Yes. Yes, it's working. It's done.
The
Got
device
the
has been
tool.
modified so that it can now manufacture two linked portals at once. As part of an optional test protocol, we are pleased to present an amusing fact. The device is now more valuable than the organs and combined incomes of everyone in.
Subject hometown, here.
In subject portal. Huh. How much are my organs worth? Because I can't say say I've ever researched. I've heard they can be pretty pricey. So portals must be, then again, portals are revolutionary. Because guys, what's the actual distance that these portals work? Because like, what if there's one person on one side of the world and then someone on the other side of the world with the portal that links up to this one? Can you travel halfway across the world? Or is there like a certain distance that a portal can be like linked? You know? Because that's now a question I've thought about and want an answer to. Now this is number 12. Am I up to 12? Yes. This one only has a radio.
Get Peter, fling yourself. Fling it.
Fling myself. Noted. You seem a little bit glitchy, Gladys. More glitchy than I remember. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. Yeah, there's music above me. Quieter here. Maybe it's not quieter. Back there. Gotta be. Give me a quick second. Just give me a quick second. Okay, I need something more on a wall. And like here. I can actually see. I swear that's where it is. There's this ladder towards here. And the higher you get. I don't know where else it would be. I just don't. What does this do? Oh, it opens that up. I see. Wait. Maybe. Possibly. Just maybe. Okay, not quite. Not quite. Like, that one's gonna be enough to get me up there. Which is annoying. Now this is definitely where it gets a bit more confusing and hard. How am I gonna get up there? Doesn't work on them, no. Ooh. I can stand on there. So maybe, just maybe, oh god, this is gonna make me sick. I am thoroughly confuzzled. Thing is, I know that's where it is. I'm gonna search up, because I feel like that's where it is, but I don't know. So, portal radios. Accidentally searched up cameras before. Okay, portal / transmission receive. Go down. We're up to chamber 12. So, chamber 12. On the middle support of the panels that are extended furthest. To reach it, place portal on the angled platform and at the bottom. What? On the middle support of the panels that are extended furthest. To reach it, place portal on the angled platform and the bottom, then fall through starting from the first level. So I think what it means is ow. Okay, let me look at this photo. So yeah, it's behind. It's sitting on that one. It's saying do that, and then from the fall down onto it from the first floor, like that. Ha! Yeah, I don't know if I would have figured that out. I mean, I also thought it was in the wrong spot, so that probably doesn't help. But now, where does it need to go, is the question. Okay, also out of there, back into my thingy. Over here. There we go. Boppity boopity. It's not back at the start. No. Okay, I'm assuming it's the end that it wants me to go to with it then. So, place it down. Go there. Place it there. You coming with me? You coming with me, radio? No, we're on here? Nope. Okay. What, radio? Guess what? You coming with me? It's around here. Oh, it was against here. Ah, I thought it wanted me to go up higher. Okay, well it's done now. So we place that there. On the thingy there. From this one. Did you enjoy that, GLaDOS? Did you enjoy it? Okay, that is chapter or chamber 12 done. On to chamber 13. But I don't know if I would have figured that out. I never thought about jumping on it from the first level and having it be angled. I didn't think about how it would give you less speed than... Well, I knew it would give you less. Of course, jumping from lower is gonna give you less speed, but I didn't think it'd have you land in the thing properly. Well, that specifically. Anyway, on to chamber 13. We have
Now that you are
3
in
cameras.
control of both portals, this next test could take a very, very long time. If you become lightheaded from thirst, feel free to pass out. An intubation associate will be dispatched to revive you with peptic salve and adrenaline.
Okay, noted. I'll make sure to pass out. Now I can actually do the thing here. Not quite. Okay, move it back just a little bit. It's working! Is this correct, GLaDOS? I'm not getting the achievement. I mean, it said full 30,000 feet, and it did have the picture of people doing this. I don't know how far 30,000 feet is. So I could just sit here for a really, really long time. I'll do it another time where I can actually fall further and it's not just from there to there. So, there's one camera down. I need to come and grab this one. Place it there. Which opens the door. Oakley dokley. Now, how many cameras are in this room? I think there's only going to be one camera in here. Okay, well there's that. I can do that and this. Okay, we got ya. Now I'm going to make an assumption that it wants me to take it back to here. I am correct. I thought maybe the start area, but over here works. Okay, so there is the radio done. So I don't need to worry about the radio anymore. Oh, there's one of the cameras.
Vital testing apparatus destroyed.
Okay, so that hits there, so we want to do there and there, which will activate this to start going side to side, which means I'll be able to do this and this. Wait for it to come over enough. There we go. Gotcha. Now we can go up there and here. I'm pretty sure this is also one of the challenge room things. Now that... Oh, right, because you need to have 2 of them. Yep, so... Actually, yeah, it is on the floor that you need to go. Like, I can actually just do this. And like that. That above it. I think that's good enough. Or close enough at least. Yeah, there we go, look. See, just fall and drop it. Now, is there a camera in there, in here? That's a camera, okay, yes.
As part of a previously mentioned required test protocol, we can no longer lie to you. When the testing is over, you will be missed.
I don't know, can I trust that? I don't think I will be missed. There's that one done. Next one doesn't have any cameras. I mean, I guess I might be missed. But not because I'm going to be let free. I'm going to die.
All subjects intending to handle high-energy gamma leaking portal technology must be informed that they may be informed of applicable regulatory compliance issues. No further compliance information is required or will be provided, and you are an excellent test subject.
Noted. Good test subject. Got it. Okay, I'm all good. Yeah. Now where am I taking it to? Start or the end? Let me see. Well, it's not the start. So there's usually only one other place. The end. Oh. Or in that room. That room also works. Okay, you wait there, radio. You wait right there. I need to quickly go and get myself a cube so I can get you through that room. And I'm assuming myself too. Okay, just plonk that there. Then we do this. Got the cube. And now we just plonk this on that, bring the radio through, and I'll be all good. Yeah, plonk that there. Now what actually is through this room? Uh-huh. There's that done. Flash before my eyes. I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't know how I survived or did that. I'm baffled that I did it. You know what, I'll take it though. Now, last one was you orange? Was the right one, okay.
Very, very good. A complimentary victory lift has been activated in the main chamber.
Yep, now I'm gonna quickly just do this one again. Because I should be able to get a little bit more speed on this one. And get a bit more falling happening. But surely I can keep gaining speed. But then again, there is a thing where if you keep falling, you don't get any faster because of your weight or something like that. I mean, if I don't end up getting the achievement, I can always just search up how to do it. But I feel like this is how you're meant to do it. But then again, I guess 30,000 feet is a long drop. So like, how many feet are these? It's from like here to here. Yeah, how many feet is like from there to here? Like at least 10. So 1,000. You could drop through 10 times 1,000. Drop through it 100 times. That's 10,000. So I'd have to do that like 300 times. I'll just find out again an even higher drop. Because actually, if I go here, I go achievements. Cache security cameras, speed 2 portal advanced map, beats, long jump, 300 feet. Yeah, full 30,000 feet. I'll just find a bigger drop. Because I'm pretty sure that's how you're meant to do it. Like I've been saying, it's just I find a much higher drop. Or I'll just have to sit there and just let it happen at some point. But I'll do that when there's someone here that I can chat with while doing it. Yeah, that was 14.
Cake and grief counseling will be available at the conclusion of the test. Thank you for helping us help you help us all.
Cake. Lie. Well, actually, when you beat the game, you can sit on a page where there is cake, so I guess it's not completely a lie. It's just quite a... It probably is a lie for a bit of it. Now, it's not on here, is it? It is. You can't bamboozle me with this many times. Oh, it was actually stuck in the thing a little bit. Now, start. Yes. Yeah, sometimes it's the start, sometimes it's usually the start, the end, or something like, you know, or an interesting place, if that makes sense. Now, there's 2 cameras. I don't see any others in here, or in this room. There's 2, 3.
Testing apparatus destroyed.
3. Must be through there. Okay, so I just got to get that into here. Okay. That shouldn't be too hard. Just got to do that and that. Oops. And there we go. Done. Not too hard. Yeah, I got 1, 2, 3 cameras. So there should be 4 and 5. Somewhere in this place. Wahoo! Wahoo! There's a door over here that I can go through. Oh, there's number 4.
Vital testing apparatus destroyed.
I'm not listening to you, Glennis. I'm not listening. So now I know what I gotta do. I just gotta... Wow! How do I mess that up? Such a simple thing I have to do. Wahoo! Wahoo! Okay. Now. So it hits the beam. Or hits that, and then comes back and hits that thing. Oakley dokily. Well. Wahoo! Okay. Boom. Boom. Does that work? It does. Okay. Now I just gotta get out of here. Out there? Is that not? Okay, that should work. I hit that thingy accidentally. Wahoo! Wahoo! Higher. A little bit further. There we go. I just didn't give myself enough height, is all. Oh god, oh god, oh god, I forgot that's how this works. And there's number 5.
Vital testing apparatus destroyed.
Okay. I think that's all the things in here. I'm pretty sure I got the radio for this one. 2 radios for this one. Good thing I checked. It's in there. Yeah. I'm glad I checked now, because I would have missed it. Okay, so we have a certain amount of time to get in there. Right, you have to hit the other one as well, don't you? Yeah, okay. Oh, you can open both of them at the same time. I didn't realize that that could be done. Come on. Go in. There we
Did
go.
you know you can donate one or all of your vital organs to the Aperture Science Self-Esteem Fund for Girls. It's true.
Now, how do I get in there? Like that.
Through no fault of the Enrichment Center, you have managed to trap yourself in this room. An escape hatch will open in 3, 2, 1.
Thank you, GLaDOS. I was gonna say, how am I gonna get out? I didn't really think of the consequences. I just thought, I need get in room. That's all. You know? Who thinks about the consequences? Now that's where I came from. Oh, so the exit's over there. Okay. I'll take the radio with me to the exit. I'm assuming that's where it's going to want me to take it. You took my music away out there. Okay, well, done. That was 2 radios and 5 cameras. That was a very good room. The next one is 1 radio, 5 cameras. Instead of 2 radios, 5 cameras. Yeah, I think a decent amount of this game is also the
Mandatory scheduled maintenance. The appropriate chamber for this testing sequence is currently unavailable. It has been replaced with a live fire course designed for military androids.
Oh,
the
this one.
Enrichment Center apologizes for the inconvenience and wishes you the best of luck.
The third part in this one that actually takes the longest is the
Vital testing apparatus destroyed.
Put me down. It's me.
Yeah, the thing that if I remember correctly, that takes the longest in this is after you do all the puzzles and stuff. Okay. There's no cameras back there from memory.
Who are
Oh.
you?
Yeah, I'm gonna come back here and
Vital testing apparatus
yeah, I
destroyed.
almost forgot. Well, not forgot. I almost missed it. How could I? There's 1. There's 2. I also need to listen out for the music.
Searching. Hey.
Wahoo! Oops.
Searching. Uh-oh.
Vital
Okay, there's
testing
that one.
apparatus destroyed.
Now, what is X there for? You want me to fall here? That's gotta be it. Okay, we just gotta place it like that as well. Now they're lined up good. Oh my god, look at the speed! This is so much faster than all the other ways. You can hear how much faster it is. They're also a bit closer together. This is really loud. But yeah, I think... Oh, it's almost like I'm gonna fall into a trance. Yeah, this is really loud. I'm gonna get out. But yeah, it's a much better way of doing it. When I want to do it. And I actually decide to do it. But anyway, help. I remember finding these weird rooms. Cake. Me want cake. Hello, can I help you? Hey, that's what those things say. Except they don't want to help you. Oh yeah, they use... Damn, that must be a toasty computer if they're cooking some beans. I think it's beans. It might not be might not be beans. I got some water, some milk. Can't go wrong with some milk. There's a few things in here. I also got the poop bucket. Okay, so two things. They've disposed of the poop somewhere. Or they didn't live long enough in here to be able to poop. Why am I touching the poop bucket? I hope it's the second one, because otherwise I've just touched the poop bucket. And I don't know whose poop it is. Either way, I don't want to be touching it. Now. Take this. Take this. Ow. That hurt. Oh god, I didn't realize there was one behind. Ow, 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 ow. Ouchies. Completely forgot there was one behind as well. Ha, 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 ha. Ow. Okay. Suck it. What are you gonna do when there's bulletproof glass, huh? Also, I haven't heard any music. Not sure where the thing is. Also, I can't remember how many things I've actually done. I think I've done 3. There's 1, yeah, 2 and 3. Okay, so I'm up to 3 cameras. I got very distracted there. Oh, it's saying you should drop down on them. Any X's in these rooms? I don't think so. Ow. Okay, there we go. Any cameras in this room? Doesn't look like it. Well, here's the radio. That's not very nice. You shouldn't shoot at people. Oh, maybe we need to take this one into here, I'm assuming. Yeah, because like I said, they normally go into interesting areas. Or the start or the finish, which that was an interesting area, so that must have been where that one went. That was right. It was a hey unicorn, how are you doing? And I guess how have you been? Because it's been a while. I guess it's... Again, I feel like it's been a while. I didn't realize you could see me. Ow! Let me know. Okay, run across. Okay. I'm gonna take them down piece by piece. I'm gonna take one of these. I'm gonna block your bullets. And take this one out. Okay, there we go. Okay, that one's not quite gonna work. How you doing? I'm doing pretty good. Okay, that was just a wrench and stuff. Got back from holidays. We're seeing family. And then I'm gonna be... Well, I don't know how long Portal's actually gonna take me. But I'm gonna mainly be doing this until... Don't want to be going in there. And then until I go away again, and then I come back. And when I come back, I'll also be buying a PC. And then I'll be playing... We'll be back to hopefully normal streams and doing more. And also then I can get back into the rhythm of playing a few more longer games. But yeah, I wanted to at least do this. So what about Unicorn? How have you been? Not back yet? I am back, but I go on holidays again in February, because it's my friend's 18th. So this time I went up to see family, then I'm gonna go up to see him for his 18th. Okay, have you fallen over? It has, okay. Oh god, I should have thought about this. I should have thought about that. Huh. Yeah, so I'm going up again for that. But you beat the Evil Within. What did you think of the Evil Within, Unicorn? And what did you think of the end, I guess? I didn't mean to do it like this. I meant to sort of go behind them. And, oh, I've lost a lot of blood. Oh no. That's a lot. There's more. There's more things. But I think I've got 3, so that was 1. I need to quickly count. And that was 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so I found 4 cameras. So there's 1 more camera left. Yeah, what did you think of the Evil Within, Unicorn? And I guess, does that mean you'd be starting, what's it called? There's the final camera. But does that mean you'd be starting, Resident Evil soon?
Please put me down.
I can put you down. I more wanted to have you shoot at your friend, but that works too.
Vital testing apparatus destroyed.
Oh, I can shoot through these net things. Right, forgot about that.
Searching. Target lost.
Okay, this works.
Mode
There we go.
activated.
Don't look at me.
No hard feelings.
I don't get it. I play DLC. Okay, so you are gonna play the DLCs. Yeah, I think the DLC.
Well done, Android. The Enrichment Center once again reminds you that Android Hell is a real place where you will be sent at the first sign of defiance.
But I'm not an android. Or robots. I mean, they're trying to shoot me. I feel like it's just self-defense. So 1 and... Oops. 1 and 5. I didn't move this over. Dick. What was I gonna say again? Yeah, I never actually finished the DLCs. Because I had problems with, what was it called? Now I didn't think. Come on, brain. Brain. Yeah, because I had problems with the recording. So I never actually finished the DLCs, but I did finish the one... I did finish one of them. I won't say what it is, but...
Companion cube in 3, 2, 1.
But I did finish one of them. How am I going to get you down? Can I knock you
This
off?
weighted companion cube will accompany you through the test chamber. Please take care
How
of
many
it.
are in this one? 2 cameras that I can knock off. Going to assume that I can't knock you off. But now I'm going to assume... Because yeah, look. Well, let me try and hit the other one again. Yeah, I can't knock it off with this. That means there's got to be 2 that I can. Come on, companion cube. You're my bestest friend. Ban me? But why ban? Remember my New Year's resolution? I can't ban.
The symptoms most commonly produced by enrichment center testing
I'm gonna
are
sit here.
superstition, perceiving
I don't like how it bounces. I don't like how it's bouncing.
and hallucinations. The enrichment
Okay,
center
okay.
reminds you that
Okay.
the weighted companion cube will never threaten to stab you and, in fact, cannot speak.
Wait for it. Go! Okay, it exploded. Oh no. Let's go back the other way. Don't come near me. Did orange glow from the companion cube? I think it's from my portal thing. From holding the companion cube. Aha! Here's when I can knock off.
Vital
Suck it!
testing apparatus destroyed.
And self-medically hydrate. Do I have... I do have water. Will hydrate spam make you change? I don't think hydrate spamming will necessarily make me ban you. Because I more just drink as much water as I can. I will not give in to banning.
Vital
There's
testing
two.
apparatus destroyed.
I thought I heard music. Let me in. Actually, I can get in. Music? No music in here. There is this thing. He's watching you beep beep. Don't worry, man. I've been taking down these things as well. You got some beans in here. You got some milk. You think the milk's okay to drink? I mean... It hasn't been opened. So, I mean... Anyway, let's have a quick listen. Okay, there's two choices here. Either it's empty, which it sounds empty, or the milk is just turned into a solid. But it sounds empty. I'm gonna go with it's empty. That's what I'm gonna go with. It'll make me feel feel not as bad. Why it would have felt bad, I don't know. They give me no choice. And please not the kitty. The whole reason I went away was to get rid of the kitty, so they couldn't find me. Surely you wouldn't do it. Now where am I gonna send that thingy to? Is it over to here? Can I hear a mute sound? I don't know. What do I gotta do in here? Oh, this is where I gotta send this thing. Oh, I know what I gotta do. I know what I gotta do. I'm sorry, companion cube. I know you're already a little bit burnt, but we just gotta... Yep. Turn that on. Which will turn these on. Which... Let's quickly do this and this. There it is. That's where the music's coming from. Okay. So we gotta do the things in these rooms. So... If I lift companion cube up here, donk you, and then I do it here. So... Thing shoots it in here, but how am I gonna get it out to... Unless I get the one up there, or the one back through here. Okay, do that. And then come down here. Place it right here. Oops. Ugh. Okay, that
Enrichment
works.
Center reminds you that the weighted companion cube cannot speak. In the event that the weighted companion cube does speak, the Enrichment Center urges you to disregard its advice.
Also, weren't you thinking of doing Portal at one point, Unicorn? I think you said you were, but I can't completely remember. But yeah, it's a trick. I'm not going to put it there because I just bounce up and down. I'm going to go boom, boom, boom. I still got it lined up, right? I think I have. I got Portal 2. Oh, okay. Can you get Portal 1 on Xbox? Yeah, I still gotta do Portal 2 sometime because I've played through the main game, but I haven't gone through the multiplayer mode yet. And I also want to try and 100% Portal 2 as well. I'm gonna have to have to find someone who will want to do that as well. Window check. Okay, that's fair. Now, are you still shooting? I think it stopped. There we go. So that's why nothing was coming through, because this thing stopped shooting because it's been used. I see. So each one, we needed to use each one. Okay. So we do that and send it over to there. Oops. Up to here. There we go. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Now we bring our little companion cube over here. Jump. And we're just gonna go along here. It's that simple. Wait, is this the exit? That's the exit. Give me a quick second. I gotta figure out where to take this. Which I think I know. We gotta take our little radio friend and put it over there. Put it in. Maybe put it in here. Let me check. Not in here. Never mind. Maybe we gotta take it to the end. And if it's not the end that I gotta take it to, then it's probably the start, and I'll have to walk all the way back. Which I don't want to do. God damn it. I couldn't make the simple little jump. At least the radio made it. And that's what's important. Okay, it is in here where I need to put this. There we go. Radio done. And I'm pretty sure I got all the cameras. There's meant to be 2 cameras in here, and I got the 2 cameras near the start, if I remember correctly. So I think I should be all good.
You did it. The weighted companion cube certainly brought you good luck. However, it cannot accompany you for the rest of the test and, unfortunately, must be euthanized. Please escort your companion cube to the Aperture Science Emergency
My
Intelligence
companion
Incinerator.
cube! Gladys! It's my companion cube! I don't want to get rid of my Why do you have me get rid of all... Why do you not have me get rid of all the other cubes? But as soon as I get a companion, you have me throw it away.
Rest assured that an independent panel of ethicists has absolved the Enrichment Center, Aperture Science employees, and all test subjects of it. You euthanized your faithful companion cube more quickly than any test subject on record. Congratulations.
Well, I went down with it. Damn it. I have to go to the radio again, don't I? Oh, it's already green. Okay, I'm all good then. Yeah, suffer. Yeah, I got a companion, and now I have to get rid of it. Because all the other times, there's been cubes, and GLaDOS has never made me get rid of the cubes. As soon as I get a companion, though, then I have to get rid of it. You know? It's kinda mean. Kinda cruel. Kinda evil. But I guess Gladys is a robot and she's not meant to be nice, so... But I just find it suspicious.
You did it. The weighted companion cube certainly brought you good luck. However, it cannot accompany you for the rest of the test.
But I didn't actually know you could jump in there with it. I don't know if I did that last time. Don't. Sorry, companion cube. It had to be done.
More quickly than any test subject on record.
I'm sorry.
Congratulations.
Companion cube. Now I feel bad. But yeah, I think it's suspicious that as soon as I get a companion cube, then she has me suffer by getting rid of it. Now, I can tick that one off. And this should be chamber 18.
The experiment is
Yeah.
nearing its conclusion.
So we have 3
The enrichment
radios.
center is required to remind you that you will be baked, and then there will be cake.
Cake time! Cake time! Yeah, so we have 3 radios and 2 cameras in this one. A lot of radios. So what is oh, it's just saying don't swim in the water. Yeah, wasn't planning on it. The water's... It's the sewage and oil looking water. Not good water. You. I will take you and your kind down. There's another one up there. I just came from over there. So, what do we got over here? We got a radio. That's what we got. What do we got if I keep climbing? Got the crown. Now I'm trying to think of remember the name of the game. Fall Guys, that's what it is. At least I can remember the name of the game. Also, gotta say, the music on this is pretty good. What is... I think it's just saying she's watching you again. And also, Gladys, I'm still having the problem where I can't read. All the letters are blurry. Get better letters, Gladys. So I can at least read them. Okay, that's death. I think I'm just gonna have to go for it.
The experiment is nearing its
Leave the robots alone. What robots?
enrichment center is
I did
required
nothing to
remind
the
you
robots.
that you will be fed, and then there will be cake.
You saw nothing. You saw
The
nothing.
experiment is nearing its conclusion. The enrichment center is required to remind you that you will be baked, and then there will be cake.
Okay. I gotta figure out where to take this one. So everything. I have no idea what you're talking about. I never died. No such things ever happened. This is the power of the kitty. So you're telling me this is what the kitties actually do? They just make me die? They're not hunting me down? Surely there's... Does that mean the kitties are secretly controlling my keyboard and mouse? Is that what they're up to? Is that what they've been plotting? Is that why I've heard them scurrying around? Here. And then this lets me go... Yeah. Because I can just jump onto there and go here. Now this... Where does this go to? Over to there. God, is it gonna have me jump? Okay, what's in here? I don't want to go in there. I don't want to. I don't know. Okay, I gotta bring my thing with me somehow. So I gotta figure out how to do that. Oops. Yeah, I gotta bring the radio with me. Actually, I think I should be able to do that. So, orange and or blue's there. Oh god, jumping's gonna be the only way. Okay. Yes. Got it. Okay. And we go blue. And now we go through. Also, while I was away, I got myself a child. I got that. Because we found it at like a market. And we figured, we saw it. And I figured, I have to get it. I can't say no. So I now have myself a child. I still need to come up with a name. But, yeah. I got myself a little carrot now. For the mummy. I have no idea. That, I don't know. I probably shouldn't be fumbling around with him. Don't want him getting any. Don't want to be dropping him. Looks adorable. Yeah, I couldn't say no. So now I'm thinking every time I see a carrot plushie or something like that, I have to buy it. Unless it's online, because if they show me them online and I get ads on like Twitter or something and I buy one, I'm just gonna keep getting more and more. But when I see one, I figured I have to get it, and I'm happy with it. It's very soft and fluffy, or just soft, and I don't know what the word for fluffy, but not fluffy, but soft fabric. That's what it is, and soft, as in a plushy way. Anyways, yeah, I don't know who the mother is. Will I ever know? I don't know, but I got a carrot now. Where was I? Right, radio. I need to take the radio over there. Okay. Okay, yes, this is where I have to take it, so I'll leave that there for now. And now it's, I feel okay if I die, because at least that will be there. Actually, I won't be okay if I die, but you know, I can at least feel a little bit better. We'll take you down. There we go. It's not safe there. Okay, I'm gonna have to figure out where I'm going. Because you see me. Okay, hide a little bit. Okay, I can at least... like there and there or something, like that. Quick. Thingy again. Oh, so it does go there. Okay. Wait, huh? Huh? There. Does that work? Does that fix my problem? What's the mother gonna take you back? They'll have to go through me. And I don't know. I guess at least then I would know who the mother of this... I still need to come up with a name for him. Or her. But yeah. Come on. Shoot it. Shoot the thing. Yes! One down. Just like 2 to go.
Who's there? Are you still there?
I'm not there. I have no idea what you're talking about. Where am I going to? Okay, I'm gonna quickly put that there. And that there. Yes. Yes. Come on. Get it. Take it down. Do it. Kill him. That didn't quite work. I don't know what part it missed, but it missed a part. There we go, okay. Whew. Get it. Come on. Yes! Okay, now I can travel this place as I like. To an extent. Problem. How do I get back in there? I'm guessing I can just hit this button. No. No, Canute. I do need to do that, though. Let me do that. Can I hit it from here? Okay. I do need to do this. And quick. No! It closed! Oh, I think I know what I gotta do. Come on. Yeah, there we go. That's what I had to do. Damn it. Hopefully it keeps going back and forth. I think it will. Yeah. I haven't really thought about that problem yet. But I'll just hide him. And we'll be all good. That'll solve all my problems. Now that's connected to somewhere in there. Well, I guess that's connected to somewhere over here. I don't know. One of the two. Now, where am I going from here? I'm going down here. I think that's what I was meant to do. Okay, that's takes me to the thing back over there. So we do that. That. Wait, what was the point in me coming in here? I think I was meant to get a cube. But I completely just forgot about that. Oh, right, it was up there, that's... Yay. Right, the cube's up here. How do I get up here? Oh, wait, I know. I'm the dumb. And now I just gotta go blue. And then we come over here. Go orange. And we set this. Do that. And then I just gotta... Whoop. Right, I gotta do it before it moves. God damn me, brain. Go through. Come up here. And do the blue. Okay, I gotta figure out a faster way. Yeah, there's nowhere I could jump. Let me go sleep. I gotta wake up early. Okay, well, thank you so much for popping around, Unicorn. I hope you have a good sleep and enjoy your day tomorrow with whatever you got to do. Yeah, thank you for popping around. I'll try and pop around next time you're streaming, but I have work a few days next week, but I should be up decently late on the weekend. So, yeah. But thank you for popping around. Now I gotta go all the way back over to there. Do this. Actually, wait. No, the thing is over there. I can not even remember how to do this just normally. Yep. Okay, there we go. Get that there. So that's orange. Go over there. Get that. Oh, that was on the thing. Okay, give me a quick second then. That's a decent amount of time to do what I gotta do. That didn't work, did it? No, it didn't. I didn't think it did. Blue. There we go. It didn't work! I think I might have jumped on the wrong one. Just a little bit of a feeling there. God, now I go back over there and check. Ah, the blue one's still over here. Wait, I just remembered. There's 3 radios in this one I need to find. There's a radio in here. Yeah, there's gotta be. I think. Hey, Red Knight, how are you going? Question is, how do I get in there? Gotta be in here. Surely. But how have you been, Red Knight? Wait, also, I'm probably gonna end up showing a lot of people this. But while I was away, I ended up getting myself a... Almost dropped them. Getting myself a child. It's quite hard to hold the bottom, but I got that while I was away. Because I saw it, or me and my friends saw it, and I figured I sort of have to. I can't not. So I have that now. Need to come up with a name. If you have any suggestions. Yeah, time for me to figure out. Now I'm gonna get into here. And I can't see it, but I'm assuming I'll get trapped. And Gladys will let down the flaps, which will let me in there and grab the thing. I just don't know how I'm getting in there yet. How long does it stay open for? Not long. Not long at all. Excuse me, how long has this been here for? How long have you been there for? Okay. Blue there. Orange there. Now, which way do I gotta look? Okay. I've been good, getting new shoes delivered today. How about you, man? I've been pretty good. Got to see some family that I don't normally see. I mean, that's about it. But it was very good because you haven't seen them for like 5 years, which is why I decided to go. But yeah, I've been good. And I guess you're excited to get your shoes, Red Knight? Maybe if I move the orange over a little bit. Okay, quick, quick, quick! Damn you! One other idea. Not quite. The idea may work. It also may kill me. I'm curious if they look like the picture. So what are they? What type of shoes are they, Red Knight? I was like, I'm also just assuming that I'm right. I could be completely wrong with where it is. That confuzzles me. I don't really know how I could get over here much faster. I mean, I guess I could do that and then that, right? And then we press the button, turn around, go through here. But then, yeah, that... Just gotta move with the orange. Orange up there. We go through. Orange there. Jump through. Blue here. Or it could be on top. That works too. I completely forgot about that. How did I not think about how it could be on top? I usually buy like Vans, All Stars, Better Phantom, good looking Nikes. Okay. Yeah, hopefully you like them then. Yeah, I probably do need to get some new shoes soon. But I mean, I have a decent pair, and I have just the normal pair that I would wear around. So I just haven't really worried about it. And now we go. Yeah, what was I did find a pair that looked good. Now. No! No! God damn it. At least now I don't need to try and do some weird timing. Because I can just go, ba-donk. And just place it here. Not in the way of where it's going to open. Hey, this is timed as well. I can get straight on and it'll be good. Yeah, I've made some decent progress. It isn't as hard as I remember it being. Because I'm already up to chamber 18 and I've been going for like almost 2 hours. See, orange, do it over there, just make sure it's not touching the thing. Hit the button. Now, this one I'm just gonna take you through. Because I'm assuming I need to get this one over there, or take it over there as well. Okay, there we go. I will take it. I will take it. That was definitely my plan. My plan all along. Here you go orange. You go blue. And now we make it. How am I gonna get you, move you? Actually, have I done the cameras? I don't know if, I think I've only done that camera. I'm gonna have to wait for that to come back. And then jump on it and then place the cube over there. And wahoo! I was about to say, what's making that noise? But I forgot it's the radio. Yes, I've done 2 radios, so there's one more radio that I still need to do. I'm gonna have to find that. Go for it. Go! Go! I made it. All the good. Yeah, then we jump down here. Hit that. Orange. Blue. Bring my good old cube through. Plonk that down there. I'm worried about walking off. Yeah, this one. Where? Up? More? Up to there? No. More fuzzy? Where you gotta go? Okay. Fuzz is gone. Camera, tell me what I gotta do. Doesn't want to go down, does it? I thought I lost it. Now we gotta get out of here. Place it there. That should be good. Yeah, it is. Okay. Aww. What have I done? Let's back up. Where do you want to go? I'm so confused where this radio wants to be. Where do you want to be? Tell me, radio. Wants to be over that way somewhere. I mean, I'd assume it's just through there, but apparently not. I mean, pretty fuzzy around here. Maybe through here and then like... Not like around the corner, is it? I don't want to like... Let me put a blue portal there. And I'll bring it through. Well, there's another one. Oh no, it wasn't in this. Huh? I'm gonna give you a quick sec. I'm gonna quickly search it up. Otherwise, I am going to be here for so long. So what chamber are we in? We're in 18. Okay, 18. In the room with all the turrets and platforms. Oh, it's on top of the box. Yep, at the bottom of the pit. 18. Inside room, here we are. The signal can be reached by firing a portal on the ceiling directly above the 2 dot symbols on the floor on the next platform and holding the radio through a second portal on the floor while crouching. You can also drop through it. Okay. How I would have figured this out myself? I have no idea. But it is what it is. So we're gonna go back. Wahoo! Okay, over to the 2. I don't want to go through the orange, please. I want to get out of the blue. I just don't want to end up in there any of that. Okay, so straight up here. So now, there, done. That was hard, a lot harder than it had to be. There we go, there's 2 done. Now, there should also be one more camera in like this room or somewhere. Which, there it is, as I was saying.
Apparatus destroyed.
Which this one I'm guessing I want to bring to the very end with me. I'm assuming. So, here we go. I dropped it. Damn you, thingy. Damn you, radio. All you had to do was hold... All you had to do was hold on, please. Okay, I guess all I had to do was hold on. Okay, orange. Orange. You know what? I'll try doing it normally and see if I can send a portal back down here. Actually, yeah, I'd be able to send it along the wall. So go all the way up and see what I can do from there. Why did I send one on the roof? I forgot. Forgot. So what I gotta... You know, I'll accept it. I accept death. Okay. Oh, it's the one that's already done. So I'll place you there then, I guess. Yeah, missed that. Because I need to bring this one up. Don't you fall down. Okay. Place you right there. Now we go orange and blue. Orange. Why did I... I forgot. I need to keep switching between the two. Okay. Orange. Blue. Grab you. Go through. That all rhymed. Now what you gotta do is you gotta go orange. And then you go blue, orange, blue. That's what you're meant to do. If memory serves correct, that's what you gotta do at least. Blue. Actually, no, you can just do it like... Wahoo! Actually, why did I do that? Now I need to go through the thing again. God damn it. You're good. More like orange, blue. Grab you. Go through. There we go. Orange. Okay, so this is blue. So blue. Orange. Blue. Blue. Orange.
Well done. Be advised that the next test requires exposure to uninsulated electrical parts that may be dangerous under certain conditions. For more information, please attend an Enrichment Center Electrical Safety Seminar.
I will definitely do that. Just not soon. But I promise, Gladys, I will do it. And there we go. There's that one done. Okay. That one took the longest out of all of them. Out of all the chambers. But where is my pencil? There is my pencil. That is chamber 18. Done. One more chamber left. And I really hope that I've got them all. Otherwise, I don't know which ones I've missed. But this one has 4 damn radios.
When you are done, you will drop the device in the Equipment Recovery Annex. Enrichment Center regulations require both hands to be empty before any cake.
And if I don't do that, what happens? Okay, well, I know that one we put there. And then we put one here. There we go. Easy peasy. There's one thingy. Yeah, there's 3 cameras we got to get rid of. And 4 radios we got to find. Which I don't hear any radios. I think we're good for now. Which, let me just check I haven't missed any. No, it should be good. Okay. On here. We'll go blue, orange. This button opens that up. I wasn't fast enough.
Vital testing apparatus destroyed.
Yep. I have to do this dumb. Well, not a dumb way, but... You know, I was meant to be on that. Do I get another one? Ah. Well, I did. I don't know about any more. No cake? I want cake. I'll just get there at my own pace. Cake time, cake time, cake time. Wahoo! Wahoo! Cake, 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 cake!
Congratulations. The test is now over. All Aperture technologies remain safely operational up to 4,000 degrees Kelvin.
Oh, so
Rest
that's
assured
why...
that there is absolutely no chance of a dangerous equipment malfunction prior to your victory countdown.
Yeah, I was.
Thank you for participating in this Aperture Science computer-aided enrichment activity.
I was gonna say, how are you gonna get the guns back? But that's how, because they're very fire resistant apparently. Yeah, that doesn't look like cake. And if that is a lot of cake down there, Gladys, I think you burnt the cake. How do I grab it? How do I grab that? How do I grab? How does grab? How does grab? How does grab when fire? How does grab when fire? Okay, I want that. I want it. I want radio. I want radio.
We are pleased that you made it through the
Give
final
radio.
challenge where we pretended we were going to murder you. We are very, very happy for your success. We are throwing a party in honor of your tremendous success.
What if I...
Place the device on the ground, then lie on your stomach with your arms at your sides.
Glad, what if I...
Party associate will arrive shortly to collect you for your party.
But what if I didn't succeed? Then
Make
what?
No further intent to leave the testing area.
Now, how do I turn this one on? Oh, I'm bringing it...
You will miss the party. What are you doing? Stop it.
I kinda need the radio.
We are pleased that you made it through the final challenge where we pretended we were going to murder you. We are very, very happy for your
I need to
success.
figure out how to turn this damn radio on.
Throwing a party in honor of your tremendous
Okay, well, I'll leave that one there real quick.
Place the device on the ground.
Actually, I'll leave it over
and lie on
here.
your stomach with your arms
Okay,
at your
so,
sides. A party
blue
associate
is
will
the good
arrive
one,
shortly to
right?
collect you
So
for your
now,
party.
we send ourselves...
Make no further intent to leave the testing area. Assume the party as...
That's not quite how I expected it to go.
What are you doing? Stop it. We are pleased that you made it through the final challenge where we pretended we were going to murder you. We are very, very happy for your success.
I obviously
We
just
are
had to be
throwing a
higher.
party in honor
So now-
of your tremendous success.
Yep,
Place
so the
device on
blue.
ground and
Okay,
lie
so I
on
want
your
to place
stomach with your arms at your
orange
sides.
here,
A party associate will arrive shortly to collect you for
and then
your
place
party.
blue here.
Make no further intent to leave the testing area. Assume the party
Back here?
escort submission position or you will miss the party.
No? Okay. I guess we move on then. I'm guessing you've played through Portal before, Red Knight? Where are we got to take this? God. This place is so faulty. You can't even have working stairs. Okay, not here. Maybe down there. Yeah, it is over there. Oh no, that's where I came from. Why did I... can you open the door? Yeah, okay. I forgot you can open doors in this game, sometimes. Well, there's some of the robots. That's not good when robots are taken away. Makes me think bad things gonna happen. Oh, well, I can actually just... Yeah. They weren't ready for someone a crazed maniac with a portal to come through, were they? I didn't expect... They haven't made portal-proof walls everywhere. Then again, they probably didn't design this place. Actually, no, they would have designed it when there were portals. Actually, would they have? Oh, thought I lost my radio. No, it's all good. Radio's all good. Radio's stronger than fan. Okay. Yeah, now we go through here. My God, where am I bringing this radio to? I hope I haven't missed where I was meant to drop the radio off. I feel like I may have. Okay, let me do that. Get through myself. Okay, that's the way I'm meant to go. I do want to quickly explore in here. I'll quickly put orange there. Orange there, blue over there. Ooh, door. I can go in here. What test chamber is this? I can't remember that one. I know which one it is. I can't remember what number it is though. And then we have... Is this... No. Is this number like 4 or 5? Somewhere around there. Can I open this from this side now? I can. You come with me. Oh, maybe I put it in one of these rooms. Okay, not this one. This one. There you go, radio. All nice and happy. A happy radio is a good radio. Now that's 1 out of 4. I really hope I don't miss one. Then again, I can always come back to whatever chamber I want. Guess it's not all bad. And wahoo! Gotta make sure to keep my ear out for if I hear any more. What's over there? I don't want to check over there. Anything over here? No, it just leads... Can I get stuck down there? No, they did think about it. They did think it through. Okay. Time to do the jump again. Now I can continue on. I has explored. And... Oh, right, the tube thing. Cake is a lie, the cake is a lie, the cake is a lie, the cake is a... Yeah. It was a little bit of a lie, to be fair. Wasn't a very nice thing of her to do. No, I don't want to go this way. Cube! Ah. Cube's gone. Where am I in now?
Okay, the test is over now. You win. Go back to the recovery annex for your cake.
Does not. Yeah.
It was a fun test, and we're
I
all
see the radio.
impressed at how much you want.
I think I can
The
see.
test is over.
Can I?
Come back.
Can't hear the radio. I'm going to assume the radio's up there. Anything back here? Nah. Nothing over there. Wait. Yeah, I can just do that. Aha! I'm fooling you! You have been fooled!
Somebody cut the cake. I told them to wait for you, but they cut it anyway. There is still some left. If you hurry back.
Don't worry, I'm hurrying. I'm hurrying. I will get some cake. I will get cake. Don't you worry about that. Okay, let's see. Jump on this and then onto this one. All right, yeah, there's the thing on top that I can get to. blue. There we go. Now, gotta go along this. Over to here. There's nothing over there. I better make sure. Don't you squish me. Don't you squish me. Yeah, there's nothing hiding over in that area. Go, go, go! Okay. Go through there. Set it to be blue. Jump out the orange. Orange up there. Not quite the plant. Jump at the lot. Gotta jump at the. There we go. Loading isn't good. Loading is never good.
You're not even going the right way.
How do you know if I'm going the right way or not,
Because I don't think you're going where you think you're going.
I know where I'm going. Don't you try and make me think I don't know where I'm going. I know exactly where I'm going. Ooh, what's in here? Ba ba ba. Ba ba da ba. Ba ba da ba. See, I know exactly where I'm going. And I have a feeling other people have as well. Because it seems like other people have also been hiding in your walls out here. Or trying to hide outside your grasp. Okay, open the door. Okay. Okay. Can I go in there? Yes. Orange. Now where does going down here go to? Takes you to here. Well, it doesn't really help me. I mean, I could probably try jumping on one of them, but I don't know if I want to. I'm gonna help. And then just a lot more of the cakes are a lie, yeah. I feel like a lot of people have found out the cakes are a lie. You think after people start escaping once, you know, you'd think they'd learn. But they don't really. I guess which one do we want to get to? Okay, yeah, I'll go through that one. Put the orange here. Fall down on it. No! Okay, that was orange, so pick this up. Blue. Ha! Can't stop me! Oh, so what is it? Is it 85.2 FM?
Remember when the platform was sliding into the fire pit and I said goodbye? And you
Mm-hmm.
and then I was off. We pretended we were going to murder you. That was
I
great.
do. I don't know. It was a little hot for me.
Is anyone there?
You know, the fire was a little too hot. I didn't really enjoy it as much. Where am I going to? Oh, I want to go up. I'll set myself onto that side, and we'll do that. Okay, there we go. No, my radio. Okay. Orange there. Grab my where's my radio? Over there. God damn it. No. My radio!
And then I was off. We pretended we were going to murder you. That was great.
Okay.
Is anyone there?
Ah! I think I can leave the radio down. I think I'm gonna leave the radio down there. And come back for it. Because I can always get back up with the radio. So we'll go like that. And then we'll go like this.
And then I was off. We pretended we were going
No, I gotta go over there. There we go. God damn it. I shouldn't have been squamped. I went through portal. Me no get squamped. Apparently I didn't go through the portal good enough. Now I can't even go through portal as well. Okay. Orange over there. Blue there. Me go through portal. Me be good. Now blue over there. Actually, I can probably just... Yeah, there we go. So yeah, blue is good. So put orange up there. Okay, there we go. Another radio done. Now we gotta go there. Oh, I did get on. Okay. Orange over there. Blue here. Okay, there we go. Orange there, blue here. Okay, that's not gonna open. We gotta... Where have we gotta? I think we has gotta like that, but has got that go, has got that. Didn't quite work. Let's try that again. Okay, so that's still there. So blue goes here. Can orange go any higher? Yeah, orange can go a little higher. Okay, let's try this again. Oops. There we go. Ow! That would have hurt, smashing your face into the metal. It's all good. Yeah, I'm not going through that. Screw that.
This isn't safe for you. It's not too late for you to turn back.
Nah, I'm good. I'm good. Oh. There. Where am I meant to get to? Where am I actually going? Okay, let me try going there. Ow! That kind of hurt. That was very nice. Okay. I'm gonna go back over to that one, because that one was safe. Over here. Let me get onto that one. Noted. That was... I don't don't know if it could have been that one. I don't know. This one is a safe one though. Okay, which one do I want to get onto? Which one is safe? None of them, really. I'm gonna be honest. Oh no. My orange. Orange. I'm dead. I'm not dead. I'm not dead. It's not over yet. Okay. Blue. Orange. I'm not really seeing anything. Okay, orange is the good one. Orange is a good one. Orange is a good one. Let me go over to the blue one. Oops. Blue there. Over to the orange. And we're in. We're through. Okay, that took longer than it should have, but exit down here. Okay. But hey, exploration first. Okay, yeah. This is the way. I didn't find any radios. Let me go down here. Then
You should have turned left before. It's funny, actually, when you think about it. Someday we'll remember this and laugh, and laugh, and laugh.
I don't know if I'll be laughing.
Well,
It's not very funny, GLaDOS. Gladims. Do they even say her name in Portal 1? I don't know if they've actually said her name. Maybe they have. I should probably have had probably have had, yeah. Oops, wrong one. Not closed captions. Options, audio, subtitles. There we go. Original game. Yeah, so down here.
you should have turned left before. It's funny, actually, when you think about it. Someday we'll remember this
And
laugh,
go! I did it! Wahoo! Don't worry, I will laugh, GLaDOS. But because I have a Scarpade! A Scarpade, your grip, your grasp, that you thought you had. I'm gonna check something. Okay, all good. I don't trust this. I knew I didn't trust it.
Please put me down.
Ow, 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 ow,
Hey.
uh.
Uh-oh.
Suck it! You can't take me down that easily. What actually is up there, though?
You're not a good person. You know that, right?
Are you still
Good
there?
people
Oh,
don't end up here.
no, I'm not gonna knock you over. You're good. You're nice. You're not gonna shoot me. No, I'm not a bad person, GLaDOS. That one isn't gonna hurt me. So I'm gonna leave it alone and let it live a happy, successful little robot life. You wouldn't have done that, would you? Exactly what I thought. No response. Okay. Didn't fall. Okay, I'm gonna have to jump. Okay, we're all good. This way. This way's the way out? Yeah, Scarpe. So someone's obviously gotten through here before or gotten through this area before and started marking the way. The thing is, they would have had to come back, wouldn't they? To know that this is the way out? I don't know. Maybe they just knew. Over there. Over where? Oh, meant to go in here. Uh-huh. Just a lot of the cake is a lie. And the can I help you? And the robot things again. Okay, well there we go. There's 3 of the radios. So there's only 1 more radio, and then there's also the. What? Oops, I didn't even need to do that. Just walked out normally. There we go. Easy peasy. I haven't seen many of the, well, there's probably been some, but I haven't seen any cameras. Cameras are probably going to come in a bit later.
This is your fault. It didn't have to be like this. I'm not kidding now. Turn back or I will kill you.
You know, she's not meant to be able to see you, so
I'm going to kill you.
it would make
And
sense
all
that there's
the
no
cake is
cameras
gone.
here.
You don't even care, do you? This is your last chance.
What if I try to take it out? Both ways. Shoot. Thank you. I will be on my way now. Actually, I just thought. So it can't hit itself. No, it can't hit itself. Okay, good to know. That's all I wanted to know. Well, all I wanted to test, really. Okay. Over here. Noted. Oh, I'm gonna have to... Oops. Opened it the wrong way. Hey, buddy, pal. I'm gonna need your help for a second. Thank you. Okay, we're all good. Where am I going to now? I can't go up there. Over here, but where? Oh, probably in the vent. Oh god. What is that connected to my feet? Oops. Are there like things so I'm always on my tippy toes? Yeah, are they like hooks so I can never have my feet flat? I don't know. Something weird. I'm going to get in there. I don't remember how I had to do this the first time now. I need to go grab something. Like just chair or... Okay, I'm out. I think this is what I gotta do. I'm assuming. If it's not, well, I don't know. Okay, well that didn't quite work. I'll get another one. I'll pile it up till I can fit through. Trust me, it'll work. Okay, now if we just pile these up, it'll have to fit. It'll have to, it just has to work. Surely 3 chairs is enough to get into the vent. Even if they're all a little bit tipped over. Guys, I don't know how you really get in the vent. Also, they have automatically closing doors or something. Really annoying. Looks like this is maybe it. There we go. See, that's all I had to do. Get a few chairs. Or at least a chair. Oops. That there. What did I shoot? Blue. Okay, so I need to shoot orange down here then. Blue. Orange. And we're through. Into the sewer? Well, not to the sewer, but to that stuff. Or this stuff. Which, I mean, it basically looks like a sewer. This must be where they're getting this stuff from. Like I said, loading is never good. Whenever you have a loading screen, when you've just been playing, never good. It's always suspicious. Usually means something bad is coming. Oh, door? Nah. You slide in this stuff. It's like sludge. I mean, look. You slide for a bit. Okay, let's... Yeah. Actually, I guess if I just go all the way around, there's bound to be... Actually, I can just... There.
Put me down.
This isn't too bad.
Hey,
It's all good. They can't hurt me if I stay behind them. Okay, that's honestly kind of impressive. Yeah, you're not gonna land though.
Please put me down. Put me down.
I was gonna say, if that one landed again, it deserves to live.
Malfunction. Shutting down. Activate.
Oh yeah, those things in the foot. I think it's also it stops you from taking fall damage. Or, I think, somehow. I don't know. Okay, that's all of them. I feel like in one of these, there's gonna be a radio. Like one of them wasn't gonna have didn't have a thing in it, so there's no reason for you to check it. Or the radio could be here as well. I mean, that works too. This is the last radio I think I need to find. Do items? No, items don't slide in here. You know, I just want to get it out. Okay, so there's the radio. I'll leave that in like the middle of the room so I can find it when I get up. But we need to get up there, maybe, I think. Now, all I know is that I need to do this. Yeah, I need to get up there, so I need to do what I did and then get onto that thing. So... there we go. Now we place the orange here. Damn it. It's more worth it getting the orange wrong than getting the blue one wrong. Wah. Orange. I got it. Damn it, I was so close to getting it right there. I was so close. Wah. Okay, I think I got it. Yeah, I got it. Okay. That means with this one, we gotta go blue. Wee! 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 Okay, blue is up there now. Grab the radio. Go through. Okay, well, radio got through. I'm sorry, I had to be done. Look, I don't want to hurt the robots. It's GLaDOS' fault. She's the one sending them. Okay, you don't want to go through there. Ooh, I think I know what to do. Blue. Whee! as I was saying, whee! I did it again. As I was saying, maybe just drop off this time. There we go. Now send blue up here. Orange down here. I got it. I got it. There we go. Anything back here? Nah, just wanted me to come bring it to here. Okay. There we go. Where from here? Up there. Wahoo! Not quite what I was going for. Probably don't need to be so high. There we go. Wahoo! Oh yeah. Big place. I want to know how many hectares this place is. It's probably more than hectares. I don't know what's after hectares, but... lot. Can I open this door? No. Can't open that door. This one? Nah. Right, this one does. Yeah, here's GLaDOS. Here's our bestest buddy or pal.
Found me. Congratulations. Was it worth it? Because despite your violent behavior, the only thing you've managed to break so far is my heart. Maybe you could settle for that.
I'm
and we'll just call
sorry.
it a day. I guess we both know that isn't going to happen. You chose this path. Now I have a surprise for you.
Please no.
Deploying surprise in 5,
Please.
4.
Please.
Time out for a second. That wasn't supposed to happen. Do you see that thing that fell out of me? What is that? It's not the surprise. I've never seen it before. Never mind. It's a mystery I'll solve later. By myself. Because you'll be dead. Where are you taking that thing?
Nowhere.
I wouldn't bother with that thing. My guess is that touching it will just make your life even worse, somehow.
Nah. I'll be fine.
I don't want to tell
All I
you
gotta
your
do is
business,
just...
But if it were me, I'd leave that thing alone.
Now, I think I'm gonna touch it.
Do you think I'm trying to trick you with reverse psychology? I mean, seriously now.
You would definitely trick me with reverse psychology. Okay, I'm gonna set a portal here.
Do touch it. Pick it up and just stuff it back into me.
Can I do that?
Let's be honest. Neither one of us knows what that thing does. Just put it in the corner, and I'll deal with it later.
Okay, it's in the corner.
You're kidding me. Did you just stuff that Aperture Science thing we don't know what it does into an Aperture Science Emergency Intelligence Incinerator? That has got to be the
Yes.
dumbest thing that... Whoa.
You're the one who told me to put it in the corner.
I figured out what that thing you just incinerated did. It was a morality core they installed after I flooded the enrichment center with a deadly neurotoxin to make me stop flooding the enrichment center with a deadly neurotoxin. So get comfortable while I warm up the neurotoxin emitters.
I'll get very comfy. Thank you.
It had some ancillary responsibilities. I can't shut off the turret defenses. Oh well. If you want my advice, you should just lie down in front of a rocket. Trust me, it'll be a lot less painful.
Is that what you wanted?
All right. Keep doing whatever.
Why is your thing over here?
Telling you and giving you good advice aren't mutually exclusive. The rocket really is the way to go.
I'm guessing that was her curiosity core.
That thing you burned up isn't important to me. It's the fluid catalytic cracking unit. It made shoes for orphans.
GLaDOS, I'm sorry. I'm gonna get rid of your curiosity core.
Do you smell something burning?
You think you're doing some damage?
Yeah.
In base 4, I'm fine.
Yeah, it's not quite 10, GLaDOS.
Curious about your behavior.
Last time I checked, you were good at counting.
You've managed to destroy that part of me. Unfortunately, as much as I'd love to now, I can't get the neurotoxin into into your head any faster. I'd just like to point out that you were given every opportunity to succeed. There was even going to be a party for you.
Party?
Party that
Let's go. Party time.
I invited you
Come on,
to
hit her.
sign a companion cube.
Okay, I'm just gonna set it up a little bit higher and hit the main part of your body.
All your other friends
Then I can't
are
miss.
neither because you don't have any other friends, because of how
Go!
unlikable you are. It says
God damn you, thingy!
personnel
Hit her!
unlikable, liked by no one. A bitter, unlikable loner whose passing should
There we go. See?
That's exactly what
As
it
easy
says.
as that.
Very formal.
Let it go.
Very official. It also says you were adopted. So that's funny too.
That's not very nice, GLaDOS. Where did that...
Speaking of curiosity, you're curious about what happens after you die, right? Guess what? I know. You're going to find out.
GLaDOS, where did your core...
Finish explaining it though, so I won't bother. Here's a
I am being scammed.
You're gonna
Where is your
learn
core?
as you can
Where-
in the next couple of minutes.
Where did it...
That thing you brought up is
What are you doing up there?
It's the fluid catalytic cracking unit.
How am I...
Tubes for orphans.
This isn't meant to happen,
Nice job,
but I'm just gonna have to... Thank you. I don't know how I've broken it, but I've done a pretty good job. Oh, maybe you are meant to be able to get up here. Never mind. It wasn't broken.
What did I
You are meant to be able to get up there. Because that's glass. I thought that was just part of the weird beam thing,
don't even care, do you?
but it wasn't part of the weird beam thing. It was meant to be up there. Oh, what core was that? I didn't actually pay attention to what it was saying.
Neurotoxin. So deadly. Joking.
Kidding.
When I said deadly neurotoxin, the deadly was in massive sarcasm quote. I could take a bath in this stuff, put it on cereal, rub it right into my eyes. Honestly, it's not deadly at all.
To me.
Well, yeah, to you.
On the other hand,
Deadly for me, though.
yes, a lot
But you wouldn't like it if I took your last core, right?
when I'm gone. You, look, you're wasting your time. And believe me, you don't have a whole lot left to waste.
Yeah, this one's not a very good core.
Survivor.
You know, what if you just took out every single... What if you just left every single core except that one? What would GLaDOS be like? You know?
Don't believe me? Here.
I want to know what she would be like if you gave her every single core but the red one.
You've been wrong about every single
Because then she probably wouldn't have tried to kill me.
thing.
Then and now. And she probably actually would have baked me a cake. And it probably would have been a really good cake too.
Where did your life go so wrong? Are you trying to escape?
Things have changed since the last time you left the building.
Oh. I'm gonna leave. I don't like all that. I'm gonna hide. Doesn't seem good. Oh no. And hey, we're outside. Yeah, there you go. It says GLaDOS there.
Thank you for assuming the party escort submission position.
Please don't take me back. No. No. No, please. Damn it. I don't actually remember what this is. Oh, the cake! Right. And there's plenty of plates for people who want to have a slice. Cake wasn't a complete lie. And our companion friend is over there. Oh, those aren't plates. Noted. And there we go. And now we get the cool song. The good song.
This was a triumph.
Yeah.
I'm making a note here. Huge success. It's hard to overstate my satisfaction. Aperture Science. We do what we must because
This is just a good song.
for the good of all of us, except the ones
This song is the best. I know.
but there's no
Just a good song.
over every mistake. You just keep on trying till you run out of cake. And the science gets done and you make a neat gun for the people who are still alive. I'm not even angry. I'm being so sincere right now.
I feel like we just don't. I'm not going to talk over the song. I'm just going to listen.
And killed me and tore me to pieces and threw every piece into a fire.
You make it sound really bad.
They burned, it hurt because I was so happy for you. Now these points of data make a beautiful line, and we're out of data, we're releasing on time. So I'm glad I got burned. Think of all the things we learned for the people who are still alive. Go ahead and leave me. I think I prefer to
And now to think about it, what bad games have Valve actually made? Thing I don't know all their games. I mean, I know they made Team Fortress, the Portal games, the Half-Life games. What else have they made? Oh, and Black Mesa. Oh no, Black Mesa's with Half-Life. We have Half-Life 2, and then Half-Life Alyx. I still need to play Half-Life. Finish Half-Life sometime. Maybe I'll do that. If I finish Portal early, I might do that. CSGO. I think they did CSGO. I think they might have, yeah. Half-Life 2 is a long game. I have heard Half-Life 2 is a long game, yeah. Because I still need to get played number 1. Because I got it. And I started playing it. I can't remember why I didn't finish. Also, let me quickly check my achievements. I did get transmission received. I don't know why it didn't pop up. Transmission received. I missed the thing, didn't I? Get the advanced maps. Gold and bronze. Detach security cameras from the walls. Damn you! I think I missed them in the last chapter. I never played the first, but I played the remake, Black Mesa. Oh yeah, isn't there a remake? When did that remake come out? Because I know there was the recent one. Let me quickly check where the last one or two are. Because I got close. Portal cameras. Where did I miss them? Because I know they're in chamber 19. Okay, there's the one that I got. And there was... 32. It shows the position of camera to display in Portal slash camera shy. I don't know where this is. Oh, I need to go back to... God damn it. Load game. Chamber 19. Chamber 19. I have to go through this. Damn it. Pretty recent, but they were early version slash beta. Ah, okay, that makes sense.
Well, you found me. Congratulations. Was it worth?
I haven't got one before here, have I?
Well, you found me.
What is this one then? Is that me beating GLaDOS? I guess I'll have to go back to 18. Thanks, Gabe. God damn you. God damn you, Gabe. This is a great point for it to give me a save. Okay. Got out of it. I got out of it. We're all good. Thing is, I don't really want to go through all this again. Okay, if I were to go new game, more, Chamber 19, start new game.
Welcome to the final test.
Okay, there's
When you are
one.
done, you will drop the device.
Yeah, I hope I don't have to do it in the other
Code
save.
annex. Enrichment Center regulations require both ends to be empty before any cake.
Oops. Yeah, I hope I don't have to do it in the same save as the other one. Otherwise, that'll be really annoying. Yeah, I'll just wait past that thing because I don't want to deal with that. Yeah, so I'm guessing. Oh yes. Did you play the old? Actually, no. You said you didn't. Did you? I can't remember. My brain be no work. No, never played the first. Never mind. You already said that. I was just being the dumb.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I think I might play the first one, and then if I'm, and then probably play the remake after that if I play through Half-Life.
Thank you for participating in this Aperture
'Cause
Science Computer
I'm assuming they probably are, but I wonder what Valve is working on now. Yo. There we go. I'm out of here.
What are you doing? Stop it.
I am doing nothing.
We are pleased that you made it through the final challenge where we pretended we were going to murder you. We are
Half-Life 3, surely.
very
I guess wouldn't it be Half-Life?
We are
Sort of like
throwing a
Half-Life.
party in honor of your
The thing didn't.
tremendous
I got up before the thing broke. I guess it would be Half-Life 4, wouldn't it?
Then lie on your stomach with your arms at your
Because there was because Half-Life Alex is sort of like Half-Life 3.
Shortly to collect you for your party. Make no further attempt to leave the testing area.
No, I'm out of
The
here.
party escort
You can't stop me. What? Huh? Oh, right, because I'm not shooting through. There we go. Over here. Up there. Orange. Now I don't need to go that way because that's nothing. This is kind of like a prequel. It's great, but in hindsight, does it feel like Half-Life 3? Yeah, I guess that's fair. Because I don't really know much about Half-Life 3 or just Half-Life in general. I couldn't have really told you if it was good or not. You know, that isn't how you meant to do it, but I will take it. Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to get to the cameras. That's all. And then when's this one? Is it back? That one's upper I shot. I think I missed them all.
When you are done,
There's one.
you will drop the device in the Equipment Recovery Annex. Enrichment Center regulations require both hands to be empty before any cake.
Oh no. What did I do? Okay, there we go. Now we ride this. Yeah. And then here. There's one here.
Ensure the safe performance of all authorized activities. Do not destroy vital testing apparatus.
And then this is orange, so I'm gonna have to deal with blue. Blue.
For your own safety, do not destroy
There.
vital testing apparatus.
Done. Now if I go here and go achievements. No, it has to be. Has to be in the same save as the other one. So if I go to load game, go down to 18, load. Right. Yeah, didn't they also, I don't know when it came out. I think it was a decent while ago, but didn't they also come up with Half-Life 2 VR? I think. Now if I go achievements. God damn you. Oops, I didn't mean to close the game. I mean, it's 7:23, so it's time that I normally end. But I'm free tomorrow. So, I think tomorrow's plan is to make sure I get all of the cameras. We'll basically sort of speed run through Portal tomorrow. Make sure I get all the cameras, or speed run to the best of my ability. Make sure I get all the cameras. And then probably just do some of the other stuff. Like doing the extra challenge rooms and stuff like that. Because that's all I'm really up to. Oh, and I need to do the thing where you jump 300 feet and fall 30,000 feet. So I think that sounds like a good plan for tomorrow. Is what actually is the hardest one? Or hardest achievement? Let's see. I don't think it's going to show me. Yeah, it doesn't want to. Which actually, well, think about it. I can go to the store. if it wants to load. I could just do it on my phone. If I go here, portal. Get to there. Store page. Or not. Let's do it on here. So if I go over to Steam, we'll get like portal, sure, click on that one, and then we'll go Valve. Okay, Half-Life 2, Episode 2, franchises, Valve Hardware. Oh yeah, I forgot they made their own VR and stuff like that. Right, they also did Aperture Desk Job, which is the most recent one. For the... Was it the Valve Index? No, the Steam Deck. Steam Deck? Index was their VR thing. I think it was this. Was it the Steam Deck? Something like that. Yeah, the VR thing was the Valve Index, which they made Aperture Hand Lab for, I think, because it's a VR only thing. So I'm assuming they made that for when they brought out VR or the Index. And they got Dota, Artifact, I'm not sure what that is. The Lab, which is also VR. Alien Swarm, not too sure what that is. Let's have a quick thing. Almost bought it, but the Rift works well enough. Or the Rift S. So is that the one a VR headset? Red Knight. God, words be hard. I've never seen this game that they've made before. Oh yeah, they also made the Left 4 Deads. It's Half-Life 2, Half-Life 2 Episode 2, Half-Life 2 Deathmatch, Half-Life Source, more Half-Life stuff. Yeah. My god, they have a lot. They have Half-Life, then there's Half-Life Opposing Force, Half-Life Blue Shift, Half-Life Source, which that's not really a game. Well, it isn't a game. Then there's Half-Life 2 Deathmatch, Half-Life 2, Half-Life 2 Lost Coast, Half-Life 2 Episode 1, Half-Life 2 Episode 2. Episode 1. And Half-Life. Very confuzzled. Very and thoroughly puzzled. The 35 Game Awards, Episode 1 is the first in this series of games that reveal the aftermath of Half-Life 2 and launch a so it's after Half-Life 2. Yeah. Intriguing. Seems like if I want to play through Half-Life, there's a lot to go through. But yeah, I think I'm going to leave the stream here because I've been going for, I think, 3.5 hours. And I guess tomorrow I'm going to have to speed run through Portal. Just to try and get get the cameras done. Because I think it reset because I pressed new game. I think. I'm not too sure. But you think if I went to the old save, it would continue from there, but no. I feel like Half-Life 2 can be a standalone game. Played back Black Mesa much later. Yeah, I guess you don't really need to play number 1 to play number 2, but I figured I might as well play number 1, then number 2, if that makes sense. Because I'm doing the same with, I'm going to do that with Far Cry, with Assassin's Creed. I'm trying to remember. I swear there was one other game I was thinking of doing a playthrough with the games. There might have been something. I can't quite remember. But yeah, that's the plan at least. And then I guess if I want to, I could go through the games or through I think it was Half-Life 2 in VR, because I think that's what it was. But yeah, that is all for future stuff. There are series with so much content, yeah, because I've got Far Cry 1 and I've got Assassin's Creed 1 to at least start those series. Because it's not something I'd play 1, then 2, then 3, like within the same, like one after the other. It's more, I'll play 1, I'll play 2 maybe like a month or 2 later, depending how long the first one takes me, and then, etc., until we get to the end. Because Far Cry 1, from what I've seen, it doesn't seem so... No. Far Cry 1? I think it's Far Cry 1. I think it has more horror-esque or sci-fi sort of stuff in it. I think. Again, I could be wrong. I don't know. Anyway, I should probably end before I keep blabbering on. But yeah, feels good to be back streaming after having like almost 2 weeks off. But actually no, it was basically 2 weeks. Oh god. But yeah, I hope you did enjoy the stream. If you did, please do think about following. And yeah, I hope you enjoy the rest of your night, day, morning, or afternoon. Because I think it's night for you, Red Knight, if I remember correctly. Which my memory is not the greatest. Also, with the camera things, I might honestly just do them off camera, since I've already gone through it and I don't really want to go through it again tomorrow. But yeah. I hope to see you in the next stream. See, actually, how many views do I have? 2. I think it's just me. I know mine wouldn't count. I won't worry about doing a raid for now. Morning here. Never mind then. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. But yeah, I hope you enjoy the stream, and yeah, I hope to see you in the next one. See ya.